we have the patrol officers. What informs them to be around the same place? Because when I remember from Nakuru to Kericho, I cannot miss to have officers, the traffic police, around 4 times. So I'm wondering what they do along the same road, yet it is very straight. There's nothing that they are stopping there. So why are they along that road? A small difference. So that is my question. And then in line with that also, Wasiri, I would want to ask, we have these trucks that actually stop maybe overnight to transport the following day. For example, we have at Salkai, we also have at Kapsoit, that is in Kericho, from where you set issues of security, these trucks, and then apart from security, we also have issues of social. How do you deal with that from where you sit? Because now when we deal with we appreciate that they lead to the development of the urban centers. But when it comes to our girls around there, what happens? I don't know. I cannot tell you that it does not belong to your ministry. You are a team and you must do something about it. Not only girls, even our boys and everybody else. So how do you deal with that? Cases of illicit brews around there? Because these trucks, and remembering that some of them do not come from within, just maybe just transporting outside our country, it is an issue to me. And if you talk of Kapsoit, for example, which is in Kericho County, we've had many cases of death because of these around there. So that is also my other issue. Now, and when it comes to strategies that we've talked about for the free movement of goods and services, I want to appreciate this on a one-stop border points. From this committee, we went to Namanga, Hispania, and the main challenge that we got from the staff there is that they are understaffed. So I appreciate where you say they are fully operational on 24-hour basis. But really, we looked at them, they were fatigued. Somebody can work the whole, maybe 18 hours, which is unfair. So as we appreciate all this, I would really feel that something should be done so that they are relieved. And then in line with that, finally, we are concerned with trade. This one-stop border posts. I imagine that our other countries are benefiting more than us. So as much as you are not for trade, you are a team. How can we benefit more from this so that we are not just to let people enjoy and us we are not benefiting much? Thank you, Professor. And thank you, Chair.
For the interest of time, honorable members, could you please shorten your questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Is it because I'm the last one?
Okay.
And you know, always the procedure is we should have started at the beginning. Anyway, first of all, allow me to thank our CS and for your information, Chair. I should have begun interest. The knowledge is who's in here. He acquired from the only second university in the Republic of Kenya, Moi University, where he was a student. Yes. So he has now shared knowledge with Agenauching, so I'm proud of him. So thank you, Waziri. Well, not dwelling much on what has already been said, but rather just to put some emphasis, this aspect of roadblocks, non-tariff roadblocks. You are fully aware, Waziri, and you know the area where I come from, and know it. You know Timboro. You know Junction Nakoi to Kapsole. You know Kondo. You know Tarako Police Station in Ban Forest. You know Bayete, the worst is Jeptire. Then there's one in Outspan. Of course, before that, there's a new bypass, another roadblock there. Outspan, and then now Old Nairobi Road. I mean, you know the stretch. I raised a question when the Prime Cabinet Secretary was in Parliament, and I think they got a shock and they have developed a shock after they are back. And you know what they are doing? Tolling the people. Without disregarding the fact that some are transit vehicles, unlike matatus. So I think I just wanted to bring across to you that I think the time has come. We need to be intolerant of this. I was just asking when I was eating whether you have some kind of sensitization. Any other profession calls for CPD. Your officers on the ground, are they being sensitized on the sensitivity of what happens along the corridor, like the northern corridor? Maybe they're not knowledgeable. Some of them are just a transfer there, and with that police kind of attitude, they are causing problems. As I want to confirm, I was in Olili, I was in along Mombasa Road, and most complaint is really in Olili. Trucks prefers to use Ports Authority of Mombasa, and then they exit back to the central corridor through Olili because of such challenges. So already you know we are losing some businesses. I don't want to praise what my colleague is saying, but there are businesses along the highway anyway, despite what the challenges are coming along it. We have a new bypass, the Eldoret bypass. It should be now Eldoret South bypass because a new one is coming. When is it going to be gazetted so that we also reduce some traffic problems in Eldoret town? As you are aware, the road is so thin, the highway is so thin, but now traffic transit cannot use it because you understand the procedures and the security along what is being carried. So I would wish to ask you that we can fast track the settlement of that bypass so that we allow the trucks to use it and shorten the time and reduce the traffic along the road. You came up with the issue of a machine readable IDs. I think this is my first time to hear this. I don't know whether Kenyans are aware of this. And you know, at Sauduma cuts, Kenyans now we are scared. But it is good to get to know what is that it. Is it a new generation ID from what we are? We Kenyans now expecting any time we requested to shift from the current generation of IDs and reintroduce another machine readable cards. What does it entail? How is it far away from the Roma cards which brought problems? The issue of passports, again, my colleague has said, but now, consider what is in public domain. We want to first of all appreciate the good work you did in the northeast area dealing with bandits. But bandits have shifted to Ministry of Immigration. Now to get a passport, if you have 40,000, you can easily get a passport. Any other Kenyan, I want to say I'm sorry. Kenyans are amazing. And they have taken, we understand their challenges. PS was here, he gave us documented the challenges they are facing, but with the limited space that is available, it has been commercialized. I think you need to put more of your energies on this one and standardize that particular department. Finally, on the issue of, okay, my colleague has said, the issue of outsourcing, we were also concerned that are we ceding our independence, are we ceding our sovereignty by asking other countries to dwell on our information? Lastly, the concern of this committee much is not dealing with what your docket is doing, but what are we going to do to ensure that we restore back the glory of Kenya in the region? Because the mandate of this committee is to see that volumes of trade and opportunities are created. But the bottlenecks around all this we are discussing. We understand the sensitivity of your ministry, but at the same time, we also want to progress. We want to advance our position as Kenyans. Thank you so much, Chair.
I give Honorable Adibo 1 second to introduce himself. No questions for you.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I wish I could only ask one question. It is very important. Thank you.
Let's see your yes. Time. Just introduce yourself first.
Yeah. My name is Andrew Adipo Kwame, Member of Parliament for Karachuonyo. And when I'm Minister, I'm proud that a member of my constituency is your number one colleague as a peers. Thank you.
Thanks. Mheshimiwa Danson.
Thank you, Chair. My colleague is very proud of one of his a colleague to the CS is from his constituents. I want to declare here, Chair,
that the CS also comes from Taita Taveta. His name is Mwakazi. So yeah, I have very short questions. Many of the questions have been asked by my colleagues. CS, there's a time early this year you pronounced that, or you gave a directive that IDs should be issued within 3 weeks, and the vetting process should be, done pretty fast, and IDs out in 3 weeks. I want to bring to your attention that that has never worked. In fact, where we are today, we have students who are joining universities. They have gone through the vetting exercise. 3-4 months later, they don't have IDs. So I would really want to request, if one thing that you need to do as quickly as now is to ask the people in charge to release IDs that are there, because students are not. Thank you, CS, and thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kasiwe, one question maybe.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 questions to the CS. Number 1, I wanted to know from the CS some of the examples of successful collaboration that have yielded effective results or solutions to shared security challenges within the East African community. Number 2, I want to thank the CS because he has told us that he has very good plans of reducing or removing the roadblocks. But in my area, I want to raise a few concerns in my area where we have a lot of roadblocks. Some of them even 1 kilometer apart, where the traffic police have been harassing people. They have used these roadblocks as avenues for corruption, and that is in West Pokot. Sometimes even the traffic police who come there say to themselves that if you go out of West Pokot without being rich, then you are not man enough. So I want to ask the CS to do something about our roadblocks in that area, because they are really harassing our businessmen. Thirdly, Bwana CS, I want to thank you for visiting West Pokot the other time, and I want to remind you of the promises you made when you came to our county. Remember, West Pokot and our neighbors were not in harmony, especially between the Marakwet and Pokot borders. He promised us to beef up the security. And remember, we have some schools in the borders that have been closed like 2 years now. And you promised to bring some security and ensure the schools reopen. But up to date, the schools are still closed. So it is really worrying us as a community and as leadership of that area. So the other one is about the border between Marakwet, rather Turkana and Pokot. At least we have some security, some improvements have been seen, but still those problems are still there. So CS, we are still waiting for you as soon as possible to respond, because that issue is really a challenge up to now. Thank you.
I'm pressed by Honorable Dipo. I'm giving you 1 minute, please. One question, 1 minute. Roadblocks has been asked. Maybe something new, please.
I'll do as you have said, Chairman, one question. Now, CS, my constituency is one of the largest in the country. In fact, you would say it is 2 constituencies in one. But then when it comes to security issues, we have a good police station. The policemen are working very hard. I salute them. But they don't have any vehicles really that can cover the large area. Can you do something to help us? The same fate is being suffered by the administration side, the sub-county commissioner. Yeah, so if you can help us in this, I think that would earn some congratulations.
Chairman, this is House of Records, and about them to how is he saying that his constituency is the biggest? Can he justify that?
I think the biggest constituency is North Hall. In terms North Hall. It may be in Nyanza, maybe. But anyway.
Chairman, I don't expect you to ask to allow me to answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we are done. Maybe I'll ask 1 or 2 questions myself, and then you can respond to that. Mine is just brief. The first one is transboundary conflicts. The conflict in the North Rift is transbounding towards the Ugandan side, and the conflict in northern Kenya, especially the borderline between Kenya and Somalia, is a conflict coming from Al-Shabaab region and Lamu, all those areas. How is the ministry prepared, or what effect, or what policies, what programs has the ministry done to avert that, or does those transboundary conflicts have effect on East African integration? And that's my first question. Second question is on the refugee. I know you inherited from that area, Fafi constituency. I was there in 1990 when the refugees were coming. The Kenyan refugee policy, to my knowledge, is that the refugee data bank in Kenya is not hosted in the ministry. It's hosted outside the country. Is that correct also? That's one question. If it's correct, what is the ministry doing to make sure that that data bank is back under the control of the ministry? Because it can be misused and it can be abused. The other question I have is the issue of, you talked of integration policy, refugee integration policy, you talked of national plan, you talked of Kenya Urban Support Program. All these programs need funding. And Kenya Urban Support Program, what I know, is a World Bank funded. It must be a loan. Another program funded as a result of UNHCR, refugees aspect, is Dr. Deep, which is not hosted under your ministry, but in ASAP. That's also funded through a World Bank loan. Kenya government, having hosted refugees for 35 years or 40 years, burdened with all those environmentally, socially, economically, it looks like the partners, the donors, have left the problem to us. And we want to solve all the problems left to us through loans. How are you engaging with the partners to make sure that we don't solve these problems by burdening ourselves with more loans? Are they putting inside? Are there grants in those programs? And how much of a grant is that? That's my second question. The third question is free visa. We commend, we support the president prerogative of making Kenya a free visa entry country. But does that have effect on drug trafficking? Could this make Kenya a free passage for drug traffickers? how well is the ministry prepared in abating that? Because when we are in JKIA, we don't see canines, enough canines to abort smoke dogs, sniffers, machines. The ones I've seen in Tel Aviv is high-tech. How much is the ministry prepared prepared to abort drug trafficking as a result of free visa on arrival? Those are my questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as I answer the questions, report that at 11:30 I'm appearing before another committee of the House, so that you could indulge me. Oh, actually, it was supposed to have been now, but it's fine. Yeah, Chair. I agree with the Honorable David Ocheng, my former student who is now doing oversight, that the key issue about the Northern Corridor, other than traffic and security management, is competitiveness for trade in the region. The presidential directive that I referred to, which was issued from Mombasa 3 weeks ago by President William Ruto, was very particular on the Northern Corridor. And it was very particular. It was, in fact, he made that declaration after meeting the port users in the port of Mombasa. It was one of the resolutions of the port users meeting with the president, that we are losing our competitiveness because of the delays and the corruption issues around the corridor. Therefore, in that context, the removal or the directive of the removal of roadblocks has been expedited or has been informed by the need to increase Kenya's competitiveness in the region, because we are losing it. And as I have assured this committee a few minutes ago, Chair, I want to repeat, we'll remove all roadblocks from the Northern Corridor and elsewhere by 1st of November. There will be no excuses, and I'm willing to come back here in November to report progress. We have to do it. In terms of what happens after the removal of the roadblocks, I have said there is the cameras issue that will deal with the speed issues, and then the picketing, the patrols are also inevitable, because from a security standpoint, we will still have a bit of that. We cannot leave these, especially transit and commercial vehicles, flying all the way from Mombasa without any policing of some kind. It can actually be counterproductive in terms of the safety of those goods and in terms of attacks. I do accept we have a national problem called corruption, and I don't think any agency of the government of Kenya is free from this problem. I have said that we have a problem of corrupt police officers, corrupt immigration officers. I have received a lot of complaints. The president has received complaints even from his counterparts outside this country, that as a country we have elements within the public service who are corrupt. And I am saying this again for the avoidance of doubt, that whereas we have very patriotic police officers who are going out of their way to secure the country, sometimes with their own lives, we have others who are corrupt. They are taking bribes, they are harassing motorists, And the same case applies to our immigration officers. I therefore want to say, yes, we have a problem. And I want to inform your committee chair that I'll take leadership in cleaning up the mess that we have in the agencies that fall within my ministry. As I have said, I've received credible intelligence that could suggest that part of our problem in the processing of passport is a corruption problem. And in my second accountability statement, which I gave in May, I admitted we have a problem with immigration. And I want to commit that I'll provide leadership there. We will clean Nyayo House from corruption and all manner of crimes. There are good officers who are there serving the country very patriotically, but there are few. There are few. That is the problem. There are others there collecting bribes and harassing the people of Kenya to get services which they should be getting for free and as their right. So, Chair, I have managed greater challenges in the last 10 months. And I think since some of the issues that were really running out of hand are now manageable, I will take the challenge which has been given to me. I'll spend a bit more time physically to provide the leadership that we require and clean up that Nyayo House place. Many Kenyans have suffered from that place. And we will take very drastic action. If need be, we'll seal off the place and declare it a scene of crime. Because you cannot have a public office where people, I have sometimes done impromptu visits there at very odd hours. As early as 6 a.m., you'll find Kenyans queuing all the way to Teleposta. I don't know, it's a bad image. And so we will rid that place of all criminals, including the brokers who extort money around there. I have already made, this week I have had a very candid discussion with the PS and the Director of Immigration. And we have agreed on what to do. And it's not going to be business as usual. We must clean up, because with that kind of situation, then it appears to me that perhaps some of the challenges we are having around terrorism could be perpetuated through some of these practices. It's going to be impossible going forward for a person who does not qualify to get a passport or an ID of the Republic of Kenya. And the solution is not in punishing some people who come from certain parts of the country and presenting them to long delays. I was in Moyale 2 months ago, and I was shocked that there are children there who are 21. They applied for IDs at 18, and 3 years until now, they do not have identity cards. That is not the solution. The solution is cleaning up the place, and I commit I will do the job. Chair, on the issue of the fear that the patrols will still perpetuate the same corruption, I think there is a way we will handle that, because the policy framework we want to enforce is that transit vehicles should not be stopped unless there is a commission of a cognizable offense. the way bridges can help us in managing the other security concerns, but the patrols should be just to make sure that criminals are aware that the corridor is policed. Is best practice even internationally. Yeah, other than criminals knowing that now there is no single police officer on site, and those people transporting goods are on their own. Then, Chair, is we have had the member for Kericho. She has said there is a lot of crime and social evils around the places where trucks stop overnight. So from our side, we can only say that we will enhance our security surveillance to make sure that the people are safe. Secondly, Chair, our role is to ensure also that children who are supposed to be in school are not taken into pubs and other places and recruited into irresponsible behavior. So our chiefs will be asking our national government administration officers on all those places, right from Mariakani all the way to Malaba, to make sure that special enforcement around kids, around children, is enhanced. I agree we have understaffing at the one-stop border points, and that matter has been brought to my attention. Not just the immigration officers, but other critical state agencies, including Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEFIS, and so forth and so on. And I have been directed to ensure that we increase the numbers. We are going to increase the staffing not only of immigration officers, but all critical government agencies, because we are coordinating that. I've been asked to ensure that we double the number of staff that we have in all our key border points to ensure that we don't overwork our staff members. I agree that we should be getting more benefits from our long-standing solidarity with the people who have come to our country as refugees from troubled countries. And I think that has been one of my demands. When I came, the Shirika plan that I'm talking about, it was called Marshall Plan. We are the ones who baptized it to Shirika Plan to give it a more Kenyan flavor. One of the things that must be in that plan is the responsibility of other partners, because the refugee problem is a burden for the world, and the principle that operates is burden sharing, not burden shifting. So the country that hosts the refugee caseload hosts them on behalf of the world, because they are human beings, they have had problems in their countries, so the country they go to hosts them on behalf of the rest of the world. So we are going to demand in the programs that will emanate from the implementation of the Shirika Plan that we entrench the principle of burden sharing to ensure that development partners also make their contribution. And number two, going forward, our peace engagement and peace building engagements must include the benefit for the country on the achievement of the stability in those countries as demanded by the member for Kenya. Honorable Chair, I think other than that, there were a few other issues. In terms of our responsibility as a country to, the issue of the database, I think one of the members raised the issue of the database being in possession of UNHCR. It's the chair, actually. It is true that for a long time our country was not doing what it should, and therefore the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees stepped in yet it is the core mandate and responsibility and duty of government to make sure that the database and the processing of all people within the territory is done by government. We are going to take over. We have actually started that process, complete takeover, that process, and we are a management register for the country, which will bring together the master register, population register will bring together component of all the citizens of Kenya. That is the people who have IDs of Kenya. Then we are going to have all foreign nationals who are resident in Kenya in another register. The third register will be for refugees and asylum seekers. And this will be under the control of the government of Kenya and not any foreign country or foreign entity. We are going to take over this refugee status determination process completely, so that an asylum seeker is processed and vetted by us, not by the UNHCR and not by any other partner, by us. So we are taking over the entire process and make sure that our security concerns are taken care of, so that we don't have these security challenges. The issue of vetting has been raised. We still insist that all Kenyans should access identity documents in the shortest time possible, and it should be uniform for every Kenyan under the principle of non-discrimination. The vetting of children, of course, is to ensure that they are of age, and there is a bit of that. But the bottom line is that no Kenyan should wait for an ID for more than 21 days. I agree. I made that directive. The department has come back to me as saying them have sorted. It can now be realized, including other commitments I made. I made a commitment for Kiunga, and I think now we are ready to roll out that info. As you're aware, the capital requirements, we need to streamline the national identity card and the passport. The capital outlay is big. We will have to rely on a bit of private capital without compromising security. And therefore, we are exploring the hosting of the printing of those documents at the government printer, so that the people doing it is us, but the equipment could be leased. And whoever has given us the equipment can get they recoup their investment over time. They don't have to be the ones printing for us. So we will ensure that we take care of our national security without again being unable to offer the service, because the resources required are huge to transform Kenya's issuance of security document to the world standards. So we are asking, we may either lease or enter into a lease to own agreement to get the sophisticated equipment that will process enough passport and IDs, but the work will be done by us at the government printer, because the government printer at the moment is well established, but the machinery, the equipment there is that which should belong to the museums. It is completely dysfunctional, dilapidated. So it's just a bit of partnering with the private sector, not to do the work, but to support us to acquire the kind of equipment and technology that is required. I agree. We are still having a passport backlog. We had hoped that we'll clear it by July. Until now, we have a backlog of about 58,000, and we are printing about 5,000 passports per day, 2,500 in the day, 2,500 in the night. We had a problem. The Department of Immigration did not have appropriations in aid. It was generating a lot of income, but it goes to Treasury, and they are left there. They can't buy even a printer worth 100 million, yet they are producing nearly 20 billion a year. So we have got some appropriations in aid now. We are increasing the capacity, and I believe by the next, when I give my next public accountability statement in a month's time, I will have reports on where we are. We will clear that backlog, and we will turn, while the ID might take up to 21 days because of maybe special security procedures, the passport must take 7 days. And in another year, from 7 days to 3 days. And in emergency cases, 24 hours. So we reached their chair. Sister, the member for West Pokot, I remember all the promises I made. I have fulfilled some of them. You asked for a GSU camp. It was established the next day. What is remaining is now the a few things like the reconstruction of schools, which is ongoing with the support of the military, and then also I promised to increase the administrative units, which I'll be coming there in September to add a few more divisions, locations and sub-counties to enhance security in that area. But I remember all the promises I made. That's why I go with my notebook wherever I go. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. I think we'll leave it at that. But
Chair, maybe before you close, I wanted to hear something on this machine recordable like this. This is a new
The Kenya is for sure going into a third generation ID. That generation ID will be a combination of a digital format, which will not be physical. It will be on your phone. But then it will also be in form of a machine readable card for special cases where you may want to swipe a card. So it's the same ID, but which is digital or digitalized and readable in a machine. And those are world standards. You know, when you want free movement of people, then the ID must be machine readable. You can't have a piece of paper that is an ID which you cannot verify electronically that it is that person you're talking about. So we are going to in fact, we have until next month to report progress on the third generation ID, but there will be an option of a paperless ID which is on your phone, and we will give every adult, we'll convert the current IDs into a personal number for the adults, and every newborn gets a personal number which becomes the number at birth. It becomes their ID number when they reach the age of majority. It becomes their death certificate number when they exit the world. So it will be one number for life. We will call it Maisha number. But those are things we are still, and we will bring it here. We will bring it here. We will have your input. And for us, we don't want to get into the politics around it. We want to concentrate on the solution part of it. So those are some of the ideas we're entertaining to make sure that we move to the next level of where the world has gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor CS.